Hey, how's it going? I have some cards to read for you. First, look at my signs. Like, really look. Just kidding. Oh, no. Why? You are the most obstinate part of this whole deal. Okay. All right, so I did not do this yesterday or anything like this. No writing of things to say, no recording of things to say. I barely had anything to say. And here's why. Because, well, starting pretty much from the moment that I heard that Biden was stepping down, just on my own level, I was stunned. Because I sure did not see that coming. And then, in the aftermath, you find out so much that's just kind of mind-blowing about the situation, about the people involved in the situation, and also myself. And then yesterday, it was pretty hardcore. Like, once I was, like, out of, talking about me, it became just this surge of emotion of everything, like like if you liked it or didn't like what happened, or I don't know if it was, well, it felt like everything, like fear, joy, horror, just all this stuff. And I felt kind of sick to my stomach for a while. And actually, I had to self-medicate and lay down, and I got up super early, like I did today. For some reason, I've been waking up like a chicken. But I got up super early, and then by 9 a.m. I was exhausted. So I took a little nap. Like, I have some responsibilities as an adult human, so I took care of my little responsibility and got him, out the door, so that, how you put your kids out when the weather's nice. Also, he uses the bathroom out there, so obviously I'm not talking about a child, I'm talking about my cat. So that was yesterday. And then I woke up after, I don't think very long, maybe an hour and a half, an hour, and had some work to do because I have a little volunteer job that I'm just sort of on call for. And so by that point, I could feel like drastically less frantic, I can tell you that. And so I was like, well, shoot, I feel like a sort of a responsibility to doing this as regularly as possible. I'm not, there's no money involved. No, it's not coming in, it's not going out. Obviously, this is like a low budget, low fi, like everything low. There's no money involved, is what I'm saying. So, still though, it's good to have a routine in your life, And I had plenty of time to think about the process of what happened, about the reporting on that, because that's what, there's like 3 levels to looking at these things. You can look at like what's reported about it. You have what you feel about it based on what you know, or what you think you know, because when it's not just right there in front of you and you're not involved with the process, you don't know everything. You don't even know what you don't know. So there was a lot of discovery happening, because I can't pry my eyes away from this. Like, could be catastrophic, could be good. And this is all yesterday thinking, right? And then as the day progressed, I began to feel better about it. I guess everybody else did too, because I just finally was like, after more hours than I can ever remember experiencing this, I felt like everyone else finally went, like whatever, however they felt about the resolution, the was out of the air, which was good. So I just have to say, while it was happening, like before Joe Biden decided to step away and allow the vice president to step in and do what the job, like she's doing the actual job that the vice president does not usually get to do, except for temporarily while there's like a medical procedure or something, and the power of the presidency is handed down, you know, you hope in that situation temporarily. So there is a process, and I was amazed how many Washington politicians were like, let's just leap right over that and do other stuff. No legislation, no discussion except amongst whomever. Like, what the hell, man? You people in Washington have got to stop excluding the people from the process. You ask so much from us, and then you make all these decisions, boom, 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 come up with ways to like justify this. Like, the super delegates did not exist for many years, and then they came along and have had a definite too much of a hand in the control of the process. And it's like this extraneous thing that came in. It's like, I didn't get to vote for that. Did you? They need to stop that kind of crap. And then also what came out is how dependent the politicians, and this is why I'm like, I don't care about any party now. I'm just going to vote for the best option that's not hurting people the most. It's ridiculous. They're so concerned. And it's like, there's got to be like a personal gain component out of that beyond like your ego. You got the dang job. You're the famous politician. You get like perks, and you get, maybe the salary ain't great, but you get a lot of other perks, and money ain't everything, people. But they're like enthralled to the donors, which, gee, didn't everybody just kind of know that already, and everybody was denying it? Like, that is subpar behavior. I don't like it. Don't be going in there and talking about how great you are, and then it turns out you're just a slave for the dollar. And then the big donors, screw you people. You are one person. You get one vote. See, this is why the money has to get out, because it confers this false sense of importance, and I'm better than you. I get more concerned. Like, no, I don't care what you think those dollars are doing. That's not real. If anything is an illusion, it is the fact that any of that separates you from the lowest in your perception, I guess, other human on the damn planet. Like, that is not, none of that is like a real thing. Our priorities, in my opinion, have gotten really messed up. Like, the things that we are prioritizing and deifying and making of, like, they're so important, when, man, there's things that are not going right, and having our attention elevated over things that are not worth elevating our attention that way over is screwing us up. Like, capitalism is cancerous, you know, it's a carcinogen. The gain and stepping all over everybody else to get it, and then like keeping stuff away from other people to the point where our society is turning into an S-hole, as someone once described countries. Well, that's usually what does it. Like, if people blame Africans for the way Africa is because of foreign intervention, you know, no, that is the parasites that come in from outside. But you know, that's not really what I want to focus on here. But we know about these things. I mean, yes, this is my opinion, but I'm not the only one that has it. There's a whole great number of other people who would heartily agree with what I was just saying about the foreign intervention like that. And, okay, that's like, whew, get out of here. That's too big. I don't want to talk about that. But what happened here, I ultimately feel pretty good about it. About the vice president becoming, I think the term is pro tem for now, the president, because that is what the procedure calls for. That's what we have in place. That's what we're doing. We're not trying to leapfrog over things and people in the process, which leads me to the way Joe Biden has been treated throughout all of this. And it really made me reflect on my own opinion of him, which I've said it many times. I did not choose him anytime he ever ran for president. But when he actually became president instead of Trump, that was mainly what I was most happy about. But the other thing is because Joe Biden was in the government for so long, which people, including myself, have a bit of a problem with. Like, I think there should be term limits, because staying that long gives certain politicians, I think, the idea that they don't have to, listen to the voters anymore, and they know better, and they know what's best because they're in the thing, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but you're there to benefit the voter. Remember? Nancy Pelosi. So the whole money thing, I guess, it was a major factor in how screwed up the way this thing went, because the big donors are getting more attention, which is not right. That is the reason they were getting it is not right. They can get plenty of attention, but everyone else should get it, and also the same level and kind of attention. Like buying it, you have to know that is essentially cheating. What is wrong with you? What kind of role model are you? With the guy that is like the Supreme Court guy, what is the black one? No, there's two now. The man, Clarence Thomas. What he needs a sugar daddy? All of his weird psychological self-hate and greed need. Can we screen for that before we put people in place? And also, again, with the term limits, lifetime, bad idea, because then people don't know when to leave. They don't want to leave. They get comfortable. They think that there's some kind of legal royalty sitting in there, and no one can touch them, and no one can say anything to them, and they can do anything they want. This is why the right is talking about the deep state, because that's kind of what it's not kind of what it is, that's what it is. But the thing about it is, when they talk about it, they try to exclude themselves from it, and that's not a thing. I don't know. To me, every time the right speaks, they're telling you exactly what they're planning on doing or what they are doing, like, in the form of accusations especially. They're telling on themselves all the time, and I don't know why, but I've noticed a very strange trend amongst people that are kind of prominent and in trouble this past year, and it was like they're acting like they want to get caught, which is fine with me. Good, because I want some of this stuff to be, well, whatever I've seen that I am talking about here, but I'm not specifying. Those people need to get caught, like the former president and pretty much his whole operation. Like anybody that becomes involved with him, if they agree to whatever he's doing, it's very likely not legal, and it's certainly not right. Okay, so back to the treatment of Biden. So, this whole thing has made me take a look at like what my motivations are, because I also was falling for the whole like pop star celebrity popular personal choice vote kind of thing. Although he wasn't going to do it again this time, but I've always just wanted Bernie Sanders. Like, I'm still feeling the burn on not getting to have the burn. But there was not really anyone else that I wanted that was running. Like, no one was ticking all my boxes, you know? And that's the thing. Like, we all have to kind of agree on things. But we're losing, I think, the thread on the fact that we are not like, our individual selves or our family and our friends that agree with us, you know, that's just like a drop in the ocean of voters. Like, we really have to, you know, get outside of our own boxes on these matters, I think. And compromises have got to be made. I mean, we don't need to wait till it's a life or death moment to decide to compromise, because we're not, like, losing that much. You know, often things we don't agree with go on and happen, and if they touch us, are we even aware? I don't think so. In most cases, things get us pumped up, people and ideas get us pumped up, and we have to remember that when other people are telling you things, that there is their filter involved, and that is also like the form of your motivation. And, well, yeah, like, that's an intent. That's what you gotta watch out for. So like I said, did not ever want Joe Biden, although in retrospect he has been probably the most qualified person for a long time, because he was doing the government jobs for so long. He really understands the workings. Unfortunately, time changed on him because people changed and their motivations changed, and the idea of compromise and cooperative work became anathema to the right. Although this is another whole involved thing, but I've talked about it in previous videos. There's a lot of foreign intervention and useful idiots, apparently, in the government, and blackmail. And, like, oh my God. Again, I don't want to get stuck in a quagmire rabbit hole thing. Bottom line is, I think that after all the guy did, Joe Biden did for this country, some of it was awful and terrible, but because of his age, we do have to remember, like, even 20, 30 years ago, where the man came from and what time in our country the man came from. And he was not as heinous as some other politicians that we have had in the past and in the present. We got some real Southern throwback types in there right now, and they're not even necessarily Southern, but there were just some real nasty ones in the past that were from the South in politics. And I'm talking about the Jim Crow era, the Civil Rights era, and before that, and just, there's bad stuff for a big portion of America, several layers, many layers that just were trampled upon and treated abominably. And so when you think of how he came through all of that and was still like a pretty decent guy, and it's very human of us to realize things in retrospect. But change, like I've been talking about change, like, you ready for this? Was the kind of thing that I was talking about. So, apparently people all of a sudden in the middle of this administration realize, oh my goodness, he may not be up to the job physically and because of his age. And dude, I feel pain about this because like time changed on him, and he did. It was a little hard at first to hear him say what he was saying, like, I'm the guy that can beat him, Trump, and you know, I know what to do. And it's like, again, in stupid human retrospect, yeah, he did know, and he was right. And like, feeling a little offense about what he was saying to get himself in the door, or like to get us behind him, he's got to reach a lot of different people. He's not going to tick everybody's boxes. And so he did, though. He did get in, and he did stop him, and he has done good things, but you have to go to the source if you want to know. You can't trust the media to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you the most expedient and profitable thing for them. And remember, the motto in media, unless I'm mistaken, and it's changed, has always been, if it bleeds, it leads. So the most salacious and horrible and gory thing is going to get up there before, you know, it's not boring and dull legislative processes that are actually helping you. Like, it's not up to them. It's not up to the news to decide what's good and interesting, and yet they do. So you almost can't go to any news source out. Like, you can go to an aggregate source and they'll gather everything. I'm not going to pay for that. I have the time to sit around and inclination to do it myself. But if you want the straight dope about what's happening with the politicians, go to their websites. That's where you can find out what's actually being done and not been done. You can see what they actually said and didn't say, because they're not going to have deep fakes on their own websites because they actually want you to vote for them. I'm just talking about Joe Biden right now and the Democrats. I don't know what goes on those other websites, except for the fact that they ask you for money, and then they'll have like a hidden thing that's like, you know, really tiny, which would be horrible for me, because I just tried to fill out my voter ballot and I couldn't see the bubbles well enough. I filled in one, I was like, that doesn't look like that's all over the place. So I had to wait for someone to come and help me. But it'll be really small, and it'll say, yeah, if you don't click this, I'm going to keep sucking this amount out of your account every month without your knowledge, really, because we made it so small that you maybe can't see it. Or you don't bother to read it, which is, well, that's on you. But he's done more than is publicly known widely, and that's a shame, because even the people that were on his side supposedly, I guess, really weren't, because it turns out, well, Joe Biden's out there thinking one thing about his polling and about his reception with the people. His team is telling him other stuff. Oh, the polling, though, the polls can be manipulated. I know. I didn't think that was the case. Well, I mean, it depends. It depends on who's doing the polling, where the polling place is located. Like, if it's not located here in the States, you're probably going to get a more accurate selection of whatever the polling intake was, because they're not going to have the American biases and inclination. Well, you hope. But anyway, they can be influenced, so that is why you will hear a lot of people saying, don't pay any attention, don't pay any attention. Pay some attention. It's not all terrible and wrong and biased, but it's, again, like with the news, taking in as much as you can handle, as much as you can stand looking at, and then you have to really, like, do your best detective work to, you know, see what's, you've only got yourself to consult with ultimately. Like, you can talk to other people and let other people tell you things, but if you're not trusting your own self, then you're doing yourself a disservice. You could be mistaken anyway, but you should still, like, listen to yourself. Like, how do you really feel? And so they were not, his own team were not telling him, Joe Biden, that the polling was as bad as it was. And so that sucks that he's out there operating with misinformation. And who did they think they were helping? Well, I think some of those people were the same people that pushed for him to run. You hear conflicting stories, like he, didn't really want to do it because he's well aware of all of the work that has to be done, all of the hours that have to be spent traveling, absorbing tons of information. But at the beginning of his campaign, I knew he was sundowning. I knew it then. They lied to us. They can't be doing that just because it's happened before. And the president ultimately isn't doing every single thing themselves. They have a support staff. They have an administration. We have had presidents that have basically been brain dead and then had everybody else there doing the president work, and the world didn't end. But never, like, why did they not let the vice president have that? Like, that's wrong. Like I said, we have a procedure. So then he gets to find out that they were doing this to him. How must that have felt? Because I'm sure, like, way back when, I guess it was like 2016 or something, or not 2016. Or yeah. I think he tried to run. Well, anyway, I'm like kind of scattered on the absolute date about this, but in the not too distant past, before he was elected to this term that he was just in, there were people that were his supporters that were, like, I guess, Washington types. Like, I'd never heard any of these people's names before, and I do and have paid fairly close attention to this stuff for years, so I never heard of these people, but I guess they were really close to him, and they really, really wanted him to run. And that was before his son Beau had died. And I know that he really, really, like, pushed for his father to run. He was like, you gotta do it, and I'm like, why does this guy think that? Things happen that we don't have to understand. Because it turned out he was the right guy. Like, people were saying, we'll elect anybody, anybody's better than Trump. No, that is a mistake. You could get the wrong person in there with the, like, wrong temperament, wrong personality, not really caring about the important thing. The reason why they're there is that you were voted by the people. Like, we expect things. That's why you hear so many people upset about, campaign promises that just never come true. But remember who you're dealing with. It's the government. As a person that has some Native American heritage, let me remind Americans that they're bad at keeping treaties. They're bad at keeping promises in the government. So let's just keep our eyes open about things. But anyway, yeah, just on a human level, it was bad the way his colleagues were talking about him, like, to his face and in the press. And, I think I managed to keep out of that part of it because it just became obvious that he was just being ill-treated. And I don't think, just because a person is older and they're kind of losing some of the more youthful, watermarks of being an adult, like sort of regressing to that baby state that happens to you when you get older and infirm. We took a lot out of the man. Like, again, the presidency is a 24-hour-a-day job, and you don't get to, like, sleep, and rest like you do when you're a 9-to-5-er. Like, You can turn that off. They don't get to. The politicians don't get to. The president doesn't get to. And so I really think that we did him a disservice because we didn't give him credit for all of the things they do, or any of them, really. I mean, if they actually are there doing the work. We've had one recently that apparently only worked 3 hours a day and golfed almost an entire year out of 4, worth of 307 hours golfing out of 4 years. That, how could you get like actual work done? Well, where was that support team I was talking about? And so there were like heinous people when that guy was president, and sounds like he's trying to get reelected and have even a whole new breed of like D-team crap people. Sidetracked, don't care about that. I don't think it's gonna matter. I haven't believed for like at least a year that the re-election is not gonna happen to that guy. Like, just give it up. Or don't. Keep talking. Because, yeah, just keep talking. But I just felt like so many people saying such bad things about Biden, even after he was like dropped out. They were just tearing him up, that I was like sending him a shield. Like, I know other people have been shielding him with love and respect that they have for the guy, but I was like, oh, hell no, this is bullshit. Don't just attack this guy for nothing. Even the people that don't like him, that like, the people that have like a F Biden flag in front of their house. One neighbor had a huge one. I've talked about it. They took theirs down. I keep looking for signs they're moving, but they don't seem to be moving. So whatever their politics are, that was just gross and hateful. And also, I don't have a kid, but kids have to look at that. So theirs came down, and then it's a week later, and I'm outside taking my exercise run, or on my cycle. I don't like run. But anyway, I'm on my little route, and I see this one neighbor has gotten an even bigger F Biden flag and put it up, and then Biden stepped down. That's the best part. Everybody, you can just stop now with the talking all the crap about Biden. And that was probably the thing that took me out the most yesterday, because I was like, I like finally tuned into what that guy might be feeling right now, and it's like, we are so ungrateful and it's like, and so mean-spirited. We never seem to like turn the mirror towards ourselves when we're doing that. I know it's hard to like face our own like limitations and failures, but we have them, we make them, and they don't just affect us. So before I read the cards, I took some notes, very short for me. Believe it or not, there may be some repetition here, and I wrote it on this piece of paper where everything's way crowded, and I didn't get I don't know, let me just read this. We go through it over and over until one day we get it, and we don't, and life changes for us. Especially when we are slow to see when it's time for change that we say we want. Remember how many of us want things and only our way. It seems like the real out of sight, sense making is done inside of us and on another unconscious level. Okay. Inside of us on another unconscious level, we are all participating in the astral plane. And if you can go there with me, then you know there are, shoot. Other participants, because the matter is not ours alone in USA or Earth, but but other inhabitants of the solar system and the galaxy are affected by what happens here. It's a quantum thing. Look it up. So that just brings the whole God, we can be so selfish thing to another level, layer, dimension, you name it. What happens here actually is not relegated only to this planet, solar system, galaxy. There are reverberations, there are shock waves, there are waves. Okay. So I just felt, probably out of all of the stuff that I was feeling since Saturday after that announcement came, or Sunday, whatever it was over the weekend, that just knocked me flat for, like I said, I had to like lay down and go to sleep. And that's why I didn't do anything. I almost didn't like trust myself. Well, what are you gonna go say? Just calm down, like maybe just hold off. I don't know what the heck I was afraid of. So I pulled cards from these two decks. Shaman's Dream Oracle. Yeah. And the Miracle of Cosmic deck. So from Shaman's Dream Oracle, I pulled first number 1, a tidy house, clarity and organization. This kind of was like my mood yesterday. Started off kind of like, I don't know. I mean, in a way, I guess you could say I was not in a way. I was not really surprised when Biden stepped down, because Linda G. Comanche Psychic had predicted it years ago. She didn't know why he would go. She thought it would just be temporary. And when I go on, you'll see why I think that may still be the case. I don't know. So, I was not thrilled that it happened the way that it happened. Like I just talked about, he didn't want to go. He was like, I came out to do this. I think I want to finish this job, what I started. And he said it, when you get knocked down, you get back up. And so he's not a quitter, is what I'm saying. So I felt like okay with the announcement that he stepped away. I figured it would be temporary. Again, I think that still remains to be seen, because there's a lot of stuff happening that's not in the news that I happened to come upon, and the effect that people have felt because of all of this has not been, we have not learned what that effect is yet. I'm sorry, I'm like all anal about what's where when I'm doing this, and this is really bugging me, but I can't do anything about it right now. So this is where I started off. Okay, this is organic. I can deal with this. I can be rooted to this because it comes from a place that I feel comfortable. And if this house is about anything, it's about that kind of letting it all hang out comfort. So, kind of messy, I guess is what I'm saying, but with a little bit of order. And then the next thing that happened was the Kamala and the procedural business, which is neat and tidy, and it makes sense, and it should. And look, all the lights are on, and everything's like just so and in place. So it's good. Like, you want that for your political procedures, and you want that to happen. There was some, I don't know, kind of, and still is some doubt about Kamala taking over. In fact, there were some people that were like, let's just ditch the whole process and just get somebody altogether new and forget the whole people we spent all these years hammering you to throw your money at us with. Like, man, you people better calm down, get a lane. And I just think, I don't feel good about the money people in Washington right now at all. And I'm not talking about the donors. I'm talking about the ones that in the party that collect the money and make the decisions for the voters who we thought we had already made the decision, and then you come along behind us and start screwing with stuff. No, don't do that. I wanted change. I did not want Biden. I want a lot of things, but we have a procedure, and I'm not against changing it, but not this way. Like, we need to do it with some order so that things make sense. Like, we don't have to have this messy freaking out. Like, I just keep, every time something happens, I get this image of, like, Grover the Muppet, like, running around screaming with his head flopping, you know? Like, it's not even hair on fire. It's just, like, ridiculous panic. And so the next card I pulled was the number 10. Deep diver and diving into a task. I just noticed something. I will talk about it in a minute. So, all this stuff happened, and I think a lot of us have been just lingering at the bottom, still trying to figure stuff out, you know? Like what is the next thing? And this is what I think our government needs to do, is some deep contemplation about their own relevance in what they're there to do. Like, it's not about you, is what I'm saying. And remember that it is about, you're there to support the effort, to support the voters' will, not the donors that have a lot of money and can pay for a lot of stuff and apparently have the power to say, we're going to take away the money if you don't get rid of Joe Biden and, you know, get somebody in there that's better. Like, hi, I didn't agree to you doing that, you dicks. So, government people, remember why you're there and who you're there to represent. Not like one dude with several $1 million. You're supposed to represent one dude and several million others with no dollars, because that is, we don't go to the voting booth and put quarters in the booth when we vote. Do you understand? That is not our procedure. And what you want to do is going to result in some kind of monstrosity that looks like that. It's like, oh my God, you put all the styles in one and then you hung it precipitously over a cliff with chopstick stilts or whatever. Like, precarious, dangerous. Too many things going on at once. Too many decisions trying to get made. Get the importance of yourself out of the equation, because that is not what it's about. That's not why you're there. Like, we really don't have the celebrity rock star, choose your best favorite. That's not that's not even orderly. Like, go back to the drawing board, go deep inside and remember who you are and what you are there to do. Like, get over yourself. It's not just about you. Okay. Stay down there for a while, figure it out. Sorry, but I guess I'm like a little disgruntled. And so the last card I pulled was number 46, and it's Root Girl. The subtitle is The Disowned Self. Well, isn't that interesting? That I feel like that is kind of about what I was just talking about. Like, you have come unrooted, you know, like your timber has toppled and you are that is not how a tree works. Like, that is not good medicine for the tree. Look at this tree, is like upside down. Also, not how a tree works. That's not where the roots go. Wow, that's like people are scrambled, I guess. That's what I'm getting. This is kind of the sort of feeling. Is it now? Okay, so it's the politicians, I guess. I'm still talking about it. They're like scrambled. Slurp. Like I said, it wasn't when I was feeling like overwhelmed by feelings. It wasn't just, I don't just feel Democrat stuff. I just feel stuff. And it was, like I said, joy, hate, anger, love, all kinds of everything. I did feel upside down, and certainly unusual. I know, like, everyone's, whatever kind of ability that you have to sense, everyone's getting turned up and tuned up and everything right now, whether you're like a woo-woo person that is seeking that or not. But we all have it. I'm not gonna go into that discussion again right now, but we all have some level of sensitivity, and things are becoming more sensitive. People are. So the disowned self. I don't know. I mean, are we there? Because I was talking about the owned selves, the people giving up all sense and sensibility for this dang dollar, for the carcinogenous sense, the cancerous sense, the capitalism that, man, it's like false advertising. It's like the bright, shiny, golden orange that turns out to be just writhing with black larvae inside. Like, you can't eat it, and it tries to kill you if you do. It's not what it appears. Sorry, I forgot about that. That was like a whole overlay that I was feeling, but not just about this, about everything. But that's kind of like a whole other subject. But as far as this is concerned, even, everything is not what it appears. That's so often the case. Why am I drooling? That's so often the case with government, but we found that that's the case with Hollywood. We find that's the case with relationships and betrayals. Like, so often we're just like, face value, and it's like, I guess we don't want to get heavy with everything all of the time, but it's like, if we stay light, we're lightheaded, and we're missing important stuff, I feel like. So the disowned self, I guess, is the genuine self that is not all about themselves, but that realizes that the best that oneself can do is always reflected when everyone is having the potential and the ability to have their best self, to enjoy life as their best self, to not be deluded and enthralled by the shiny golden orange. Just to remember, hey, an orange could just be a perfectly fine, beautiful, juicy, tasty orange, but you could also have the other thing. It may not be like a whole thing like I described. It could just be one imperfection, but like a malady, like a disease that can spread. A bad idea can spread. Money, capitalism, it tricks you into thinking things are other than the way they appear. Oh my goodness. Okay, enough of that yet? Okay, good. So the other cards I pulled were from the Miracle of Cosmic deck. Hi. So the first one is, what has your inner voice been asking of you? Listen and act. So I think that's something, considering what I've been saying, that we can all take seriously. There is the well-known small still voice of spirit that will advise you and help you, and that also extends to like relatives trying to impart information that they're not here anymore. They're not the same people. They have access to a wide array of information that we do not hear. We could, but we got a lot of going on, so we're not always able to like pay attention to it. Like, things get busy and dizzy and messy and mixed up. So you have to be still yourself. And you also have to be able to be aware of what the voices are saying to you. Like, I feel like the capitalism is like a voice, like the evil angel on your shoulder. It's not always bad, so because there's two angels, but often it just starts to, the current of it, the flow of it, and everything is attracted to it. So it's not always good or bad, and you really have to, it's up to us again to pay attention. And like, I can't tell someone else how to meditate, but I know that I'm always looking for like the best path that's going to be harmless to me and other people as much as possible. And even for like the biggest thing ever, something teeny like that can matter hugely. I mean, that's how I feel. And the next one was, do something kind for someone without any expectation. So I had something happen recently that made this really hit home. I began donating sort of regularly, I don't know, about 20 years ago. And I would do it every once in a while anyway, like at Christmas time when the Salvation Army Santas are out. It's like, oh yeah, that's how it was for a long time. Like, I just didn't even think of it. But I guess then some things happened in my life that I needed help, and I needed to go to organizations like that. And then I was like, oh yeah, there's, do it more often. So I began to, and I didn't know consciously that when you give, you receive. Like, that's what triggers it, is the giving. And that's kind of I'm glad I didn't know it, because I would have thought of it in capitalist terms. Oh, if I give, I'll get something. That's not quite what it's about. It's not really transactional. So do something kind for someone without any expectation. That's kind of like the giving to the homeless people, where some people are like, oh, they're going to take drugs, they're going to drink. And like, I don't care. They are adult humans that I'm giving this money to. You get a paycheck. You don't want them running around behind you questioning what you do with every cent of the money that you earned working for whoever it is that you work for. So it's good. So what happened was, as I had gone to the store, it was on a particularly warm day. I think it was like 87 when I was out doing this. I don't know why I always decide to go out when it's warm. Well, hot really, but I find that growing up in LA, where the daily average temperature would have been around 80, so it wasn't like that big of a deal. I haven't lived there for a long time, but I still haven't quite acclimated to the chilliness of where I am now. But anyway, I'm out, and then I got a carton of milk, a half gallon, so that, or not, well, the carton, the square paper carton, not the gallon jug. And I'm out there in the heat with this thing on my back, like my messenger bag. So it was heavy, you know, and I have other stuff in there like a wrench and just various crap. So the bag itself is, the bag even is has weight. So like it was getting heavy. And then I had my music playing on my headphones, and then the music stopped. So sometimes it's T-Mobile interrupt us, and sometimes it's, for some bizarre reason, YouTube going, are you still listening? Should I pause the music? No, you should never pause the music. Why did they ever think someone wants them? I already had a mama telling me to turn off the light. I don't appreciate it, to be honest. But anyway, the music shut off. So I went to grab the phone, because you have to stop what you're doing, like if you're working out, and you have to stop and then like touch the phone back to life. So I'm in there, I'm like, wait a minute. I pick up the, here's the other thing. I had my purse with all my like ID and cards, like a debit card and that in there. So obviously I'm not going to fit a half-gallon of milk in a clutch bag, so I had to bring the bigger one. So that bag was also in my bag. More weight. And so the messenger bag, I don't know if you've ever had one, but if you're a woman, you have had a larger purse, then you have probably experienced where the frick did that thing go in here? So I ended up having to unload, like just completely stop, take the bag off. Piece by piece, take everything out of the bag. And at that point, I had already gone back to the store, into the store, asked if anybody found, like I had gone all the way back where I had come from, and I was more than halfway home when the music shut off and I thought I lost the phone. Turns out I had not lost the phone. It had slid into an inner pocket. I was so relieved, though. The two guys at the intersection that I needed to cross, there was one at the gas station there in the market parking lot that I had come from, and then across the intersection with traffic coming the other way from the fast food village there was a guy with the same sign. They both said the same thing. The car they were in ran out of gas. They're on their way somewhere. Can you help with gas money? So I actually had I had some change. I had gone to the store with like my Snap card. I did not have money. And both of those dudes were looking at me because I'm sure they were looking at everybody that went by, but I didn't have a car around me, so it felt particularly gazed upon and uncomfortable. And I always want to help, but like I said, I had change. I had my emergency change, which literally consists of like a lot of pennies and a little bit of silver. And so I did not offer it to either of these guys when I passed them. And then after like the phone thing, I was like, oh my God, I still have the phone. I'm so happy. I just was like, here, I just passed one of them. And I was like, here, I don't really have like cash money, but I have some change. And he said, can you separate it out for me? And I was like, no, I can give it to you and you can do whatever you want with it. Because I really wanted to get out of the sun. Like I was feeling it at that point with the heavy crap on my back. Pardon me for a second. Puffer came back, Puffer came back, Puffer came back, and Puffer came back. Did you finish your food? You're such a good boy. Had to sing the song. So, anyway, he took the money. Of course he took the money. I mean, it was at least $1. I know that. So, but when I did it, because like I said, I had passed these guys and I definitely saw them, and I was like, I was wanting to hang on to my emergency change. But after I found my phone, I was so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, dude, here, just take it. So, I don't know, this card just made me think of that. I don't know if that's like outside of your character to do something like that spontaneously to help someone. And the reason why I say that is because I have met so many people lately that are just so, I'm not giving them any money, they can work, but you know what, I have an invisible illness. I look just like a regular overweight lady that is like, why is she riding around in that electric cart? She can move her legs. Or why is she in that motorized wheelchair? Well, I mean, you're not a doctor, so I got stuff going on that you couldn't possibly fathom until it was explained to your ass. So, I don't know. Back off. Even if it's just because someone is fat that they feel the need to ride the scooter, you are not walking around with all of that weight and whatever caused them to gain it. Like, it could be personality stuff, or it could be a disease. Like, you don't know. Why is the approach like, no one enjoys that when it happens to them. Oh, hell. All right, last card I'm going to finish because I hit the too long mark. So the last card is stay present. That's where life happens. And really, to me, that is just about breaking down all of the outer layers and getting to the core thing that is you. And that sounds like a lot of psychological work, but really it's just sort of like clear away all of the noise and the clutter, and whenever possible, I mean, this doesn't have to be physical, but it can be. But what I'm trying to say is, when you get down to the base element that is you without any outer artifice, putting on any type of a show or look or whatever that you're trying to pass off, like, just leave it. Like, it's just you with yourself. And sometimes that's hard, but because it leads to a lot of stuff that, oh shoot, I didn't want to think about this, but but that's the kind of stuff that ends up being a problem that you have to think about, like when life changes for you kind of stuff. It's better to just find it yourself. It's less rocky. Bye. Oh, I have to go let him out. Okay, so for me, this weekend has had a lot of things that happened that made me go, oh, wow, I really need to think about that a different way. And oh, wow, I had a part in why that happened. Oh, wow. And nothing's terrible. Like, it's stuff happens, and then you just process it, you deal with it. But we all have some autonomy in life. We do have some agency where we can make things go better, or we can, we don't have to just live with expectations. There's a little bit more action that we can take. I just find, for what I'm talking about right now in this whole experience that I was just talking about, that a lot of self-reflection made me see things in a different way, like the Hanged Man and the tarot cards. I'm not going to pull one out because, like I said, I'm over the time. Okay, I got to stop. No one gave me a limit. This is just me limiting myself. Thank you and good night. For you, because I don't think anybody wants to hear me talk that long, but I don't know. Anyway, bye.